From ruthless masterminds to legendary street figures, we uncover the truth behind their rise, reign, and eventual fall. In today's episode, we take an in-depth look at one of the most dangerous and controversial individuals in hip-hop history, Jimmy Henchman, a man whose name is synonymous with violence, power, and high-stakes drama. From street wars to executive boardrooms, his journey has left a trail of chaos and unforgettable moments. Jimmy Henchman's story is filled with twists and turns that blend the world of music with the gritty realities of the streets. His rise to power was fueled by both ambition and a keen understanding of the criminal landscape. As we explore his journey, you'll see how his choices led to triumphs and catastrophic downfalls. Brace yourself for a gripping story of loyalty, betrayal, and the relentless pursuit of dominance. Born in Harlem and raised in Flatbush, Brooklyn, Jimmy Henchman was a product of the streets from an early age. Growing up in an environment riddled with crime and poverty, he quickly became drawn to the street life. As a teenager, Henchman ran with a crew called the Untouchables, a group determined to make a name for themselves in Brooklyn's criminal underworld. By the time he was 16, Henchman had already faced 2 gun charges. School was never a priority for him. The streets were his classroom. Dropping out early, he found himself in Rikers Island, a notorious New York prison, where he would spend a year. This experience only hardened his resolve and cemented his reputation as a fearless street figure. Despite his early encounters with the law, Henchman was known for being sharp and resourceful. Unlike other street figures who relied solely on brute force, he understood the value of building strategic alliances. This mindset would later become one of his key strengths as he navigated both the drug trade and the music industry. Henchman's resourcefulness was not just limited to street survival. Even at a young age, he showed signs of being an effective negotiator, often mediating disputes within his crew. His reputation for being able to handle high-pressure situations earned him a level of respect uncommon for someone his age. Prison turned out to be a pivotal chapter in Henchman's life. During his time at Rikers Island, he connected with Richard Moore, a leader in the Black Panther Party, who encouraged him to rethink his path. Under Moore's guidance, Henchman focused on self-education and managed to earn an associate degree. When Henchman was released in 1988, it seemed like he was ready to turn over a new leaf. However, instead of leaving the streets behind, he returned with a sharper mind and more calculated moves. Determined to rise through the ranks, he quickly established himself as a key player in Brooklyn's crack game. During this period, Henchman also became known for his ability to broker peace between warring factions. His reputation as a skilled negotiator earned him respect among street figures and made him a valuable asset to those seeking to expand their operations. Henchman's rise was not without challenges. Rival crews constantly attempted to disrupt his operations, but his ability to outsmart them ensured his dominance. He used his connections from prison to form alliances, creating a network that was both formidable and loyal. Despite the constant threat of violence and competition from rival factions, Henchman's adaptability allowed him to remain several steps ahead of his enemies. He often relied on unconventional strategies to protect his interests and maintain control over his territory. His foresight in anticipating police raids and enemy ambushes further solidified his reputation as a mastermind in the streets. Henchman also began to foster relationships outside of his immediate circle. He understood the importance of having influence in multiple spheres, including the legal and corporate sectors. By cultivating relationships with community leaders and figures in the local business scene, he positioned himself as more than just a street figure. He became a community influencer who wielded power both in the shadows and in the spotlight. Don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button. For the next 3 years, Henchman built a criminal empire that was both ruthless and highly organized. His reputation grew as he connected with powerful figures and managed to dominate the crack trade in his territory. But it wasn't just the drug game where he sought power. Henchman had his sights set on the music industry. Around this time, Tupac was becoming one of the hottest names in hip-hop. Henchman saw an opportunity to manage Tupac and become a significant player in the music world. However, Tupac wasn't interested in Henchman's proposal, a rejection that would have far-reaching consequences. Despite the setback, Henchman continued to build relationships within the music industry. His ability to navigate both the streets and corporate boardrooms made him a unique figure in the hip-hop world. Artists and executives alike were drawn to his charisma and strategic mindset. Henchman's ambition extended beyond just managing artists. He wanted to create a legacy that merged street credibility with corporate success. His vision was to establish a record label that would rival the giants of the industry, cementing his place as a mogul. What set Henchman apart during this time was his ability to enforce discipline within his organization. He ran his crew like a military unit, ensuring that everyone understood their role and executed it with precision. Mistakes were not tolerated, and loyalty was a non-negotiable requirement. His emphasis on structure and hierarchy allowed his empire to operate efficiently, even as law enforcement began to take notice. As his influence grew, Henchman began investing in legitimate businesses, including music production and event promotions. These ventures served as a front for his drug operations, making it increasingly difficult for authorities to pin any illegal activities directly on him. His dual identity as both a feared street figure and a respected music executive made him a formidable force in both worlds. Henchman's rise was also characterized by his ability to stay ahead of his competition. He was known for being 2 steps ahead of rival crews and law enforcement. His strategic mind allowed him to anticipate threats and neutralize them before they could materialize. This foresight earned him a reputation as a mastermind, someone who was nearly untouchable. One of Henchman's key tactics was to maintain a low profile while letting his success speak for itself. Unlike other street figures who flaunted their wealth, Henchman preferred to operate in the shadows. This approach not only kept him under the radar, but also added to his mystique. People knew he was powerful, but few could pinpoint the extent of his operations. Despite his meticulous planning, the pressures of running a criminal empire began to take their toll. The constant threat of violence and the need to outsmart law enforcement weighed heavily on him. Henchman's inner circle became smaller as he struggled to find individuals he could trust. Paranoia set in, and even his closest associates were not immune to suspicion. Henchman's dual life as a drug kingpin and music executive eventually became unsustainable. The very network he had built began to unravel as law enforcement intensified their efforts to dismantle his empire. However, his impacts on both the streets and the music industry remain undeniable. His story is a testament to the dangerous allure of power and the high cost of living a double life. For the next 3 years, Henchman built a criminal empire that was both ruthless and highly organized. His reputation grew as he connected with powerful figures and managed to dominate the crack trade in his territory. But it wasn't just the drug game where he sought power. Henchman had his sights set on the music industry. Tupac's rise in the hip-hop world coincided with Jimmy Hinkman's influence in both the music industry and the streets. Hinkman, known for his connections with industry heavyweights, had direct dealings with Tupac and other rising artists of the era. Initially, their relationship was professional, with Hinkman acting as a behind-the-scenes figure connecting artists with key opportunities. Tensions began to rise when Tupac suspected that Henchman was involved in orchestrating the infamous Quad studio shooting in 1994. Tensions began to rise when Tupac suspected that Henchman was involved in orchestrating the infamous Quad studio shooting in 1994. Tupac had been lured to the studio under the impression of a business opportunity, only to be ambushed and shot multiple times. Though no concrete evidence directly linked Henchman to the attack, Tupac publicly accused him in songs and interviews, escalating an already volatile situation. As the accusations gained traction, Henchman largely remained silent, but others in the industry, particularly those associated with Bad Boy Records, dismissed Tupac's claims as paranoia. Yet, for Tupac, the attack was a betrayal that fueled his growing distrust of the East Coast hip-hop scene. The incident not only intensified his animosity towards Sean Diddy Combs and the Notorious B.I.G., but also played a crucial role in shaping his aggressive, retaliatory stance in later years. His scathing diss tracks, including Against All Odds, specifically called out Henchman, further cementing their fractured relationship. In the years following Tupac's murder, Speculation continued about Henchman's role in the events that led to the rapper's downfall. Some believed he was merely a powerful industry figure caught in the crossfire of an escalating war, while others remained convinced that he had played a part in setting Tupac up. Decades later, as Henchman faced legal troubles of his own, his name remained entangled in the larger mythology surrounding Tupac's life and tragic death, a testament to the lasting impact of their turbulent history. In 1994, Tupac Shakur was ambushed and shot multiple times at Quad Studios in New York City. The incident marked the beginning of one of hip-hop's most infamous feuds. Tupac publicly accused Henchman, along with other figures like Puff Daddy and Biggie Smalls, of orchestrating the attack. Despite vehemently denying any involvement, Henchman's name became forever linked to the incident. Years later, a former associate named Dexter Isaac would claim that Henchman paid him $2,500 to rob Tupac. The revelations further fueled the speculation surrounding Henchman's role in the attack. The Quad Studios incident not only damaged Henchman's reputation, but also intensified the East Coast-West Coast rivalry that would eventually claim the lives of Tupac and Biggie Smalls. Henchman's name became synonymous with the darker side of the hip-hop industry. Behind the scenes, the fallout from the incident was massive. Record labels distanced themselves from Henchman, fearing the negative publicity. However, he remained defiant, determined to prove his innocence and rebuild his reputation. After Tupac's death, Henchman continued to rise in the music industry, managing major artists like The Game. However, his feud with 50 Cent and G-Unit would soon become one of the most explosive chapters in hip-hop history. In 2007, tensions reached a boiling point when Tony Yayo, a G-Unit member, allegedly assaulted Henchman's 14-year-old son, Lil Henchman. The incident sparked a series of retaliatory acts, including the shooting up of Yayo's mother's house. The feud between Henchman and 50 Cent escalated rapidly, with both sides engaging in public diss tracks and behind-the-scenes plots. Henchman was known for being calculated and relentless, and he was determined to protect his family's honor at all costs. Henchman's feud with G-Unit was not just about music, it was deeply personal. He viewed the assault on his son as a declaration of war. His response was swift and calculated, ensuring that G-Unit felt the consequences of their actions. Henchman's feud with 50 Cent escalated to life-threatening levels. There were multiple attempts on 50 Cent's life, including a planned ambush during a music video shoot with Akin. Fortunately, a mishap with a firearm prevented what could have been a deadly shootout. Despite the failed attempts, Henchman remained relentless. He even allegedly plotted to blow up 50 Cent's bulletproof van, a testament to how far he was willing to go in this war. Behind the scenes, Henchman's crew was known for their meticulous planning and execution. Law enforcement officials later described his organization as one of the most sophisticated criminal networks they had ever encountered. Henchman's obsession with taking down 50 Cent became a defining aspect of his later years. It consumed his resources and ultimately contributed to his downfall as law enforcement increased their scrutiny. In 2010, Henchman's criminal empire began to crumble. He was hit with charges of drug trafficking, money laundering, and witness tampering. Prosecutors alleged that his operation was one of the largest in the country, pulling in over $11 million annually. The evidence against Henchman was overwhelming. His crew had developed a sophisticated system to transport drugs across the country, using creative methods to evade law enforcement. Despite his best efforts, Henchman was sentenced to life in prison. During the trial, Henchman maintained his innocence and claimed that he was the target of a government conspiracy. However, the jury was unconvinced, and his conviction marked the end of his reign. The courtroom drama was intense, with Henchman's legal team presenting a defense that painted him as a misunderstood businessman. However, the prosecution's evidence was damning, leaving little room for doubt. While serving his time, Henchman faced additional charges for orchestrating the murder of G-Unit affiliate Lil Mac. The case was meticulously planned, with multiple witnesses testifying against Henchman. In 2014, he was found guilty and received another life sentence. Rumors also circulated that Henchman had cooperated with law enforcement to secure leniency. While his legal team denied these allegations, the street narrative painted him as a snitch. 50 Cent capitalized on these rumors, using social media to further tarnish Henchman's reputation. The allegations of cooperation deeply impacted Henchman's legacy. In the world he came from, being labeled a snitch was one of the worst accusations one could face. Despite the allegations, Henchman continued to maintain his innocence and fought to clear his name. His legal battles became a never-ending saga, capturing the attention of both the media and the streets. In 2020, reports surfaced that President Donald Trump was considering granting Henchman clemency. Allegedly, Trump had expressed interest in releasing Henchman before leaving office. However, the pardon never materialized, leaving Henchman to continue serving his life sentences. Despite being behind bars, Henchman's story remains a topic of fascination and fear. His legacy is one of ambition, violence, and controversy. The speculation surrounding his potential clemency sparked debates about justice and redemption. Some believed he deserved a second chance, while others felt his crimes were too severe to warrant forgiveness. Jimmy Henchman's story is a testament to the complexities of power, loyalty, and survival in the streets and the music industry. His ability to navigate both worlds was unmatched, but it ultimately led to his downfall. Henchman's legacy continues to spark debates about the blurred line between business and street ethics. Many young figures in the hip-hop community still view Henchman as a cautionary tale. His rise and fall serve as a reminder of the high stakes involved in pursuing power by any means necessary. Henchman's story also highlights the impact of mentorship and the importance of making strategic choices. His early encounters with Richard Moore could have set him on a different path, but his desire for power ultimately defined his journey. In the years following his rise in the criminal world, Jimmy Henchman's life took a dramatic turn as he found himself entangled in various legal issues. His involvement in the shooting of Tupac in 1994 led to a long history of legal battles that ultimately shaped his later years. In 2012, Henchman was convicted for his role in trafficking drugs, with his illegal operations spanning multiple states. This conviction added to a growing list of legal troubles that plagued him as the years wore on. Despite his efforts to maintain a low profile, Henchman's connections to the murder of Tupac, as well as his notorious criminal activities, kept him in the public eye. One of the most significant legal battles came when he was charged with orchestrating the 1994 attack on Tupac at the Quad Recording Studios in New York. The attack was part of a larger dispute within the hip-hop industry that ultimately led to the infamous East Coast-West Coast rivalry. Henchman's conviction in the murder case, along with other criminal charges, ensured that his name remained synonymous with controversy. Henchman's legal troubles continued as he faced several charges, including money laundering, racketeering, and conspiracy. Throughout his trials, Henchman maintained his innocence, but the evidence stacked against him proved overwhelming. In 2014, he was sentenced to life in prison for his involvement in the drug trafficking operation and for his role in the Tupac case. Despite the setbacks, Henchman's story remains one of resilience, with his legal battles continuing to define the latter part of his life. His time behind bars and his ongoing fight for justice have only added to the mythos surrounding the notorious figure in the world of organized crime and hip-hop. On Underworld Icons, we bring you the raw and unfiltered stories of figures who shaped the streets and the music industry. Jimmy Henchman's tale is a cautionary one, a reminder of how ambition and power can lead to both success and destruction. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the underworld's most iconic figures. Click the video above for more episodes on Underworld Icons,